Rama. Nice to have you here with us today on this Regal Live episode.
Thank you, Shweta. Happy to be here.
I know. I'm so happy to be talking to you. I've done one interaction with you earlier, and it was amazing. So it's my honor to be here today to talk to you. And for everyone who's watching us live, we have with us today Miss Rama Venkataraman from Bangalore, who has just gotten her amazing PCC credential. And that is not the only feather in her cap. So I'm just going to read out. It's a long bio, but to keep it concise, I've just kind of shortened it, and I'm going to read it now. She is a transformational coach focused on empowering managers to fulfill their leadership potential. Rama works with mid and large size corporations. She is also a parent coach, and her expertise lies in formulating and achieving personal and professional goals, shifting belief systems. She's an expert with nonviolent communication and also healing the inner child. So that's a very, I think that doesn't honor your credentials enough, Rama. So thank you for being with us here tonight, and please share with us how your PCC journey has been. Whatever you'd like to begin with.
Okay, it already feels like a long time ago now that the CK is over.
Oh,
But PCC journey was very different from my ACC. My
mhm.
ACC was a sprint, and PCC was long, like a marathon. You know, it. The beauty of PCC was that because of the 500 hours of coaching, I got to coach like a huge number of people to get my hours and various kinds of people. And I was also very honored to be coached by so many different so many coaches around, right? Overall, I really enjoyed my PCC journey. I think, although I have to say, I required a mind shift for it.
Mm.
So once I made that, which I'll probably share with you, and for anyone else if they have any questions, and yeah.
How do you mean mind shift? Because I've heard this earlier that ACC is a sprint and
Hmm.
PCC is a journey, like a marathon. And I loved what you said that I enjoyed it, enjoying the process. But you also mentioned that it was a mind shift. How do you mean?
Was what I mean when I say that is, I because the competencies are the same and the
Mm.
structure is the same, I assume that the my rigor would be the same. Although I was told, right, it's a longer process and all
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Somehow internally, when I paused, and life happens in 2.5 years, so one has to like there is no other choice but to take a
Mhm.
pause, right? So
Yeah.
when that happens, there's a kind of disheartenment that comes in because that was not there with the ACC journey. So I had to really sit down, look at it. I journaled a bit around it, and then I figured that this is going to happen. It's 2.5 years. I am going to kind of, fall off the wagon, so to speak. The thing is to just keep getting back. So even if I had to give something to, aspiring PCC people, I would say that know that you are going to go off track. There'll be weeks where you just don't coach. Just keep coming back and come back quickly if you can. Yeah. So that's what I meant with the mind shift, because sometimes you can just stay in that low and lose track of the journey.
Yeah, yeah. That's such a beautiful piece of advice. Thank you. That you're going to be falling off. Life, of course, happens, but get back on that wagon and quickly. I think that quickly is very important. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Rama. So you also mentioned, and I've heard Subhash also say that self work is very important in this journey. I wonder how what it implies because it's different for different people. Like you were also saying this morning when you were talking, right? How do you mean self work, and what connection does it have to this mindset shift that you spoke about?
uh, I think self work, we all say, like, look at the competencies and all of that is brought in very heavily. I feel self work truly forms the foundation for us being as coaches. when I say self work now, self work again is this broad umbrella of a statement. People can assume it's going to the
Yeah.
spa, getting nails done, to anything
Of
else,
course,
right?
that too.
And thing, yeah. So, from the perspective of coaching,
Mm,
um, I look at self work as three large areas. One is awareness, acceptance, and a clear mind. I'll
mhm,
explain each of these, what I took the meaning of each of these as, right?
yes,
It's all
yes.
how we interpret it and perspective. So, with acceptance, right? It is about, for me, when a client comes and sits in front of you,
Mm,
and you can ask the most powerful questions and have amazing, all of those things that are the flux of it. But if the client is not feeling safe within the conversation,
mm,
the client is not going to be able to go deep. The client is not going to be able to come up with the answers that they require.
yes.
So, for me, so what do I mean again when I say, creating that trust and space and all of that is self work is, if I have something within me that I don't like, am I
Mm,
able to see it? Am I able to give it space?
wow.
No? So I think we can only give the other person that space if we look at our spaces and kind of hold that space. Because if that's not there, the client does feel it. And
Wow.
then the judgment comes in.
Mm,
So the client always experiences safety, non-safety, and there's a gauging of that happens, which is very subtle. But once that safety is established, then
mm,
you don't really need to have too many questions. Nothing. The client is automatically so safe that they, for the first time, probably have that space to look at parts of themselves that they haven't been able to look at. They feel safe to bring it out and allow you to look at it, and then they're able to look at, okay, from here, what solution do I want for myself? So that's the piece that I look at as acceptance, right? Then, of course, before that comes the awareness. You might have awareness, not necessarily
Can I can I actually, I'm sorry, but this is so beautiful what you just shared. And for the first time, I have been able to link that no judgment thing for self with acceptance, the way you're talking about, and connecting it to creating trust and safety for the other person as well. So, I mean, this is just mind blowing. I just can't move ahead because it's a big piece of information. It's not small. And when you said subtle, to
Yeah.
be able to catch it at the right moment within yourself. Because I've had that experience with one particular person when I just started my ACC journey, and I was judging myself left, right, and center. And that client could not, and now I can associate it. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And that's acceptance, you said. Sorry
Yeah.
to have cut you short, but
No, not
this
at all. Because
was a
uh,
gem.
because I do feel that if these blocks are not there, no amount of anything else within that conversation works. So, similarly, is awareness. Again, being aware of your shadow self, and just uh, sometimes we have these beliefs, right? Like, for example, if I have a belief that work for somebody to be good at work, they need to be working really hard, long hours, be serious, and I have someone in front of me who just does, a bit of work. They're working, they're doing well. It
Yeah.
brings about something within you. Then you have to look at it. One is the possibility that there is envy, because I am not able to rest. I am not able to work. I'm not able to give myself permission to do that. Is the right way to say it, right? And the other thing could be that I believe that that's not the way to work. Then if I'm aware of this feeling that that's what I think about work, then I can again reflect back and ask myself,
Mm.
who would I be if I didn't believe this? What would
Wow.
my life look like if I didn't believe this, right? So the minute we are able to ask ourselves, you can just feel your body relax. That strong belief then kind of becomes much more lighter, subtler, which means again you're creating space. So when we talk about these things like trust, safety, presence, and all of these are such big words and they're so large. Uh, but actions and self work really makes it so perceptible for us in our bodies and our minds.
Amazing, amazing. This is such a beautiful conversation, and I'm also looking at how you are in that while you're in that conversation with the client, and all of this is going on within you, and you're able to see whether it's envy or you're on the other side of it, where you're kind of going into, that's not the right way to be. Again, the judgment kind of comes in, takes away the presence. You're so right when you say that these are, it's trust is a small five-letter word, but it's like the space that needs to be created. So that's a beautiful way to look at self work. So you said acceptance, awareness, and you mentioned a third one as well.
Yeah, the third one, of course, is a clear mind. We
Hmm.
can't come in through with a cluttered mind, right? So here I love to often say that our brain doesn't have a brain. I'm going to say that again. Our brain doesn't have a brain. What do I mean when I say that is that your brain doesn't know how important something is. Your brain doesn't know when to bring it up. Your brain doesn't know, what is the, like, what is important? How much is it important? All of these things. So I'm going to follow up with an example. Like, let's
Hmm.
assume that I have this bulb that's gone off in my house, and I
Yeah.
want to kind of replace it, right? So I'm sitting at a meeting somewhere, and this
Mhm.
memory comes. It's of no use to me. I'm sitting at a meeting somewhere. I'm not at home. I can't change that bulb. So the brain doesn't know. There might be another time I'm just driving past a light store, but I don't remember. So the brain doesn't have a brain of its own, which means that it's sitting, and nowadays with all the information, we are sitting with so much in our heads, which means we need to move that information out of our heads into a system. So what works for me, I'm not necessarily saying that every coach has to do it. I'm only speaking about like my perspective and what works for me is journaling. So when I journal, I'm really removing it from my head and putting it on paper. I
Mhm.
know people who use movement. If you're somebody who enjoys movement, if there are coaches here who like that, then they can use that as getting it out. Sometimes we also, if you're sitting at one place and thinking, sometimes just getting up, getting that glass of water and coming back
Yeah.
allows you, right, to go. So I believe that these are the three aspects that, which is why self work is so important, because when we do the work, we're much more aware and we're much more present. And if we are able to come with these three aspects into a coaching space, um, there's nothing much else to do. Of course, be competent with your competencies and all of that, right? Yeah.
Of
But
course,
yeah,
that
that's
Regal
for me.
teaches us anyways with the recordings, being mentored and constant mentoring. I think it's a beautiful space. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge these three things, because these, even while I was listening to you, I think we haven't spoken about it yet in this. I'm also on my PCC journey, and I loved how you've explained the brain doesn't take a break. And wow, I need to get back to journaling. So
Yeah.
the three elements that you spoke about, and I believe there's so much more to learn from you, because you've just probably just touched the tip of the iceberg, I guess, with acceptance, awareness, and a clear head.
We have 20 minutes, so yeah.
I know we have just about
I'm
five more
trying
minutes.
to give, yeah, the overview. Sure.
Yeah, yeah, but I would love to talk to you more on a personal level also. Um, these three elements, Rama, that you spoke about, and also how, I've heard our mentors at Regal talk about this coaching from a state of being.
Yeah.
Is this what you would call coaching from a state of being? What else is there when you're doing that? How do you get to that?
Yeah. So when I look at the being, uh, I look at it because coaching is a lot of talking, and people just assume that's the only aspect of coaching. Um, I'd invite people to look at it as, we do have three brains. We have our brain in the head, we have our gut brain, and we also have our heart brain, which
Hmm.
means when you're coaching to be able to look at the whole of the coaching, right? Again, when I'm saying that, the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the energy body of the
Yeah.
chi. I can't go really deep into these, but these are all different aspects of each one. So to be able to look at the person as a whole. Again, I don't want this conversation to be wasted as an esoteric and up there conversation. So I'm going to
Of
run
course.
it down with an example
Mhm.
where let me assume that my coach has been speaking and they're just in over their head. They've been talking and talking and they're going in circles. Something that sometimes helps me is to just say, hey, we've been speaking for 15 minutes now. If we were to just take a pause, you know, and just take a deep breath in and just go into your body. Is there anything that you're feeling, maybe in your throat, your stomach, your thing? So, if the person is able to feel, if the person is somebody who has body awareness, they're able to feel. But sometimes we also get the very logical clients, right? Who for who
Absolutely.
this could feel like a very woo-woo thing. Yeah. So even for those clients, it takes them out of their head and just gives them that pause, just that trying to just kind of feel what's happening in their body. So
Mm.
I find that extremely, extremely valuable. And the other thing is, uh, for me, this looking and observing a client's physical, mental state, and their how their energy is, and all of that also allows me when they, because you want to bring the thinking person into a feeling space, and if they're feeling very actively from the feeling space, you want to take them into the action space, not go from thinking to feeling to thinking to feeling, and then that will, they're also stuck in that loop, right? So
Yeah.
so for me, being would be to really see the client as a whole, not just like what they're saying, but all of these other aspects, and to be able to move through these aspects up and down so that um, when they leave, they are they feel more integrated.
Wow. When they leave, they feel more integrated, and so many different aspects of looking at the person. And when I read coaching from a state of being, it seemed to me more like something that only the coach would be doing. But when I hear you explain, with this, the three brains, the gut, the intuition, the heart, and the feeling, and the head, taking them from thinking to feeling to action,
Yeah,
it somehow seems that it is you're inviting the being of the person by being yourself. If I take that acceptance awareness bit also in this whole thing, by being who you are, by being your whole self, not judging yourself, knowing yourself well, you're inviting the being of the person so that they become more integrated after this conversation with you.
yeah,
It's just I think it's taking a little while for it to sink into me too. I'm just enjoying this conversation so much. I wish it was longer. It's just at the top of the 20 minutes now. It seems that we've just been talking 5 minutes though. So thank you so much.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Before we wind up, Rama, in honoring of the time, is there anything other than what you shared with us earlier? Get back on the bandwagon. It's a marathon, and life happens. Anything else that you'd like to leave as words of advice to people on this journey or looking to get on this journey?
Uh, Probably apart from that, I would just add, don't try to do it as a silo. There is a support system. Regal is amazing. There are so many things that are happening. Just keep plugging in. That is the only thing. You don't have to run this race alone. It's no fun also to try to do it alone. Yeah.
And it's probably not even a race, like
It's not, but sometimes, when we look at the hours, when you get into the thing, you're looking at it like, I need to complete the hours. You might get caught up with the curriculum of it, right?
yeah,
Which is
yeah,
also okay because I think there is a certification, there is some timelines, people have work and all of that. But just, you don't have to suffer through it alone. you know, when we suffer together, it's a lot more joyful when we can say, oh my gosh, I haven't finished this many
I know.
hours or what it is. Yeah. So
That's a
that's about
beautiful visual. Yeah, you don't have to suffer it alone. And yes, I do agree. Regal is such a great support system. So many new initiatives that are also starting,
it.
that are there already in place. So plug in. I love that.
Yeah.
Plug in and don't suffer alone. Let's all suffer together and enjoy suffering. I think that's a good way to wind up today's call. I want to thank you, Rama, for your time today and the beautiful insights you shared with us. Hope to be able to talk to you again very soon and learn so much more from you. Thank you so very much. Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.